Now, I told you I had a surprise for you, and it's quite a welcome surprise, as alongside both myself and Greg now is the doyen of commentary, and Martin Tyler. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here at the Valley.
It's a pleasure to be joining you.
It's an absolute thrill for us, but of course, you're not just here to see us, you're here for specific reasons.
Yes, through the Joy of Football podcast that I do, we're producing a special on the 7-6 in 1957, Charlton against Huddersfield, which is obviously why we're especially here today. But we've had a lot of help. We've been working on this since the back end of last year, a lot of help from the museum, a lot of help from the club itself. And we're working towards getting something out there under the title of the greatest game never seen.
Yes, exactly.
And ironically, this game is going to be seen all around the world between Charlton and Huddersfield today. And we're trying to piece together all sorts of elements of it, and it's great fun, and we're having a lot of help. And I hope, as I say, it's meant as a homage to a wonderful game and some wonderful players.
Absolutely.
Some of whom didn't last very long, sadly, on this planet after the game was played, particularly Johnny Summers, who scored 5 of the goals.
Absolutely,
yeah.
and the other 2, I believe, and you know, illness took him far too soon. It's one of those games that I think the crowd was around 15,000, something of that order at the Valley at the time, but it became quite quickly afterwards where about 76,000 people said they were here.
A 250,000. But of course, during the game, because Derek Afton, the legendary Charlton captain and defender, was injured after 15 minutes, no subs.
No subs.
So Charlton played 75 minutes with 10 men and scored 7 goals all in the second half, 2-0 down at half-time, 5-1 down with 25 minutes to go. And it is the greatest comeback of all time in those circumstances. But when you talk about the crowd, it was the last Saturday before Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
And so those who were there at the beginning, half of them are gone at 2-0 at half-time, 5-1, a lot more are gone. But there's a photo outside the ground of in Stuart Leary's name, but it shows Johnny Summers and John Ryan, who scored the other 2 goals. And this is in the first half because it was December and no floodlights, so there were no photos in the second half because it was so dark. And the crowd was pretty sketchy if you go and look outside, on one of the pillars outside. So I just noticed that today.
It's a remarkable story, the game itself, and I think if somebody was to descript it for a film, there's probably a few people who go, it's a bit far-fetched. You know?
Well, I've been telling this story to a younger generation, you know, and then they go, oh, there's an old fella going on about something. And when I start telling them the details of it, for example, the only team to score 6 and lose ever in the 4 divisions of English football, managed by Bill Shankly.
Yeah.
How could that happen? Left back, Ray Wilson, played for England in the World Cup. Actually not playing, but on the match programme and sitting next to Shankly because he was being rested for the Christmas period, Dennis Law. And that's not to get into the Charlton heroes as well. So I don't have to talk for very long about it to people who know nothing about it for them to go, really? So I hope that, I think it does deserve it. And actually, one reason that I'm perhaps attracted to it a little bit more than some other journalists is actually 2 years earlier, my very first division game that I ever saw was here, about a bit higher up on this side of the ground where we're talking, in the old stand that covered just about either side of the halfway line, and the big bank was on the far side. And to young eyes, I was 8 years old, and I never lost that memory. So it's really nice to be revisiting it, and we've had some help. The BBC, I showed the Remembrance Group in the museum an 8-minute edit of Charlton against Sunderland from the First Division in '56, a year almost to the day before. And because we tried to get the Johnny Summers interview out of the BBC, but they didn't record it, because he went straight from here after the game. Great credit to the BBC. Not so much credit, as I found out from a quote from the great Kenneth Wolstenholme, that they were actually supposed to cover the game. Oh. And 2 days earlier, the decision was, well, there's not that much on it. We'll go somewhere else.
I hope somebody got told off for that.
Well, yes. Well, I wouldn't be calling it the greatest game I've ever seen.
Good point. Yeah, very good point indeed. When can people expect to see it there?
Well, we're going through a lot of research. We're aiming for a month before the anniversary.
Oh, cool.
Which would be November time. I think that gives us a time to piece it together. We're not doing it with any company backing, much as though my friends at Sky have kindly allowed us to bring a crew here today. So I must mention that. And I hope if we piece it together in a way that it might get a bigger exposure. But for the local, for everything we've done so far that we can show, has gone through Charlton, has gone on the Twitter feed, we've been in the museum, we've done stuff with Alex in the press office. So it's all very open, and if anybody has anything that they can add to the story that they think we might miss otherwise, they can come through you guys, and we'd love to use that as a pathway to perhaps even more precision. The hard part is trying to get the description of the goals, because they were thick and fast, especially in the second half. So they wrote down another Summers goal. So we've seen all the cuttings, and I'm trying to get, one was from a short corner apparently, which might have been unusual in those days. And they go, oh, some of his goals are all the same. He cut across on his left side and shot with his right foot. And I'm like, yeah, but we know he's got all... But I'm trying to get a bit more detail, so if anybody's got anything like that, we'd love to hear from them.
There we are. That's wonderful. Hopefully that happens from the Charlton fans that are listening, and I'm sure the social media channels will say the same. Just slightly drifting away from that, it's great to have you back on a microphone, first of all, Martin. What is Martin Tyler up to? Obviously, you're doing the 7-6 and the greatest game.
Yeah, no,
generally speaking, the last time I saw you, in fact, it was at Prince's Park at Dartford.
Yes, yeah. Well, I don't have. I coach at the Woking Academy now, which is my club I support. You know. And we have a few connections with Charlton down the years, Harry Arter being one that we ended up getting some money for. And came from Dartford, I believe, Welling or somewhere like that. So I was coaching with Alan Dowson at 6 different clubs, but he's in a sabbatical, if you like. I don't think you call it that. He'd have other words for it. And I'm the academy. I've got friends that I work for with Woking. It's a good level, National League under 19. We play Southend and all the teams that you've heard of in the National League. So it's fun to be around. But I'm still commentating, but for a world feed audience, which means nobody in this country should hear it. But I pick that word advisedly, because I do get a tap on the shoulder from time to time. People say, I heard you the other night. I said, no, you're confusing me with somebody else. And they go, no, I know it was you. I know your voice. And I go, well, I know that we can't discuss how you heard this.
Because they just did a brief trip to Kazakhstan, which is what they tend to tell us. When told me.
Is that right? Yes. The word piracy is something that I have to be very careful to make sure that I don't encourage it.
Absolutely not.
So still shouting goal and enjoying it, and feel blessed to still be able to have the opportunity to do it, because we're all here because we love the game. That's the simple truth.
Well, part of the game is they're just about to introduce some Nordic players of the past in our Premier League days, which you would have seen and commentated on many occasions.
Yeah, I've seen one or two of them downstairs as well. We're waiting for Klaus Jensen because he was the last on parade. I don't know whether he's made it or not.
Well, he was arriving at 9:30 to Heathrow, so because Sky brought the kick-off time early, it was all a bit harem-scarum, I believe. Martin, it's a delight. I know Greg's got something that he wants to ask you.
Yeah, Martin, I was going to ask you, we're actually playing now in the background the Nordic players' highlights of their careers. There's Matthias Svensson commentary from yourself against Newcastle. I just wondered your Charlton memories in general in terms of commentating here. And it's actually great on Charlton TV. It's only taken about 15 years and we've got a professional commentator with us, so we have to take this opportunity to ask you about your favourite Charlton memories in general commentating here.
I had quite an insight because I'm godfather to Mervyn Day's eldest, his daughter Rebecca. So that had happened in the 70s when Merv was playing, and he married very young, had children very young. So when he was, wherever he was working, when he was playing, we always used to meet up if I was covering a game involving him. Now, of course, when he was part of Kerb's coaching staff, it meant that maybe without having to ask too loudly, I could go to the training. But I had one experience where they asked me, obviously nobody else available, they were doing the defensive unit with the back four about offside, and they wanted somebody to be the assistant referee, the linesman as it was then. So Merv said, you can do it. And then I went, oh, okay. And you try and tell professional players who are trying to get the offside right in front of their coaches and managers that they got it wrong. And I'm going, that wasn't offside. And Eddie Youds was the one who, Youds was loud. He was the one who pulled me up, and it was very light-hearted, of course, but it was important for him, and I was trying to do it. So those kind of memories. But the game against Chelsea here on Boxing Day, was it? That's the one I probably remember the most. And I came up with one of my worst lines ever. Jason Ewell hadn't scored for a while. I think it's something like Ewell's tides turned on Boxing Day.
It's legendary. It's not
No, it's not legendary at all. I should apologise to all the Charlton fans. And of course, Jason's been in the news this week, hasn't he? Yes.
No, those sort of memories, and I always think the Premier League years for Charlton growing up, that those moments, the Sky goal, the Sean Bartlett goal. Did you commentate on that with the diagonal?
Yes,
It's part of Charlton folklore, so you're part of that, Martin, whether you like it or not.
Well, it was lovely to bump into, particularly Matthias Svensson. I had a good chat with downstairs, and so it's a coincidence that they're here this day. I can't work out a connection with the 7, but except, haven't you won 7 home games in a row? So we have a 7 of the 7-6. The 6 must be something positive. We can't throw anything.
Maybe it's to come.
Yeah, well, maybe it's to come. Yeah, these things do come around, and as I say, the 7-6 and the penalty shootout at Wembley did sort of tickle the fancy of the Charlton fans who've been at both games. Yeah. So.
Well, Martin, I'll speak on behalf of Terroir. I'll take you downstairs. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you up with us. Good luck on the project and the actual covering of the 7-6. And as Martin said, if anyone's listening or watching in at home and you've got anything that you would like to contribute to that, you might have been at the game, you might know someone, please do get in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with yourself,
really
Martin.
Appreciate that. But
thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and I hope I can come back again. I'd love to.
We'd love to have you up with us, definitely. Thank you, Martin.
Thanks.
Thank you. Tel, I'll hand you over to